There's no break in the tennis action. Indian Wells has only just finished and we're going again, this time for the Miami Open. And the draw is looking stacked. And of course, we have Djokovic and Alcaraz on the same side. This is the Game to Love reaction.
So Indian Wells, that one's been put to bed. Jack Draper was the champion there, and he's looking to go for back-to-back Masters championships. He's going to do the Mira Andreeva, I think they call it these days. But what we're here to discuss is the draw. The draw's out, and the big news is, as always it seems, Djokovic and Alcaraz on the same side of the draw. They must be getting sick of this by now, JG.
Yeah, and also the previous champion in Jannik Sinner is not there. So that's some other big news, of course. He is still serving his suspension. And the craziest thing about his suspension is he's gaining lead at world number one without having to play. Zverev and Alcaraz both lost points at Indian Wells. So that means Jannik Sinner is extending his lead at world number one status and increasing the gap despite not having to play any matches, and he's also not going to be missing any Grand Slams. So Jannik Sinner, all in all, has not done too badly from this whole situation so far. Of course, things can change, and there's a lot of points on offer at Miami.
Yeah, there really is. He's the defending champion. He will not be there. Last year's points got stripped from him. And now we've got the draw out for this year. Number one seed this year is Alex Zverev. He's been having a torrid time though, hasn't he, JG? He's seen that number one spot up for grabs and he's thought, I'm not even going to get close to grabbing it. And this is his section. Let's have a look. Let's get stuck in. So Zverev, let's have a look at the seeds in his section first. So we go down here. We got Mpechi Pericard in there again. That's for a second tournament running in his little section. We got Holger Rune, Arthur Fees, all players who have actually been doing quite well recently. Going down, Thomas Mahatch, another dangerous seed there. And here's the big one in Zverev's section, Jack Draper. What a terrible draw for Zverev.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Jack Draper is physically. Of course, he's gone deep now in 2 tournaments back-to-back, something he's not been able to do before. Probably will be all right because it seems to be a different kind of player. You saw him in that final, was so confident and quick in the way he dispatched Rune with a ridiculous overall score. I forget, what was it, the Tennis Insights, he was like 9.1 across the board, playing flawless tennis. So I think he's going to be fighting fit, and on that basis I can't see him not winning this quarter in the form he's been in. The big matchup obviously being a Rune, which was the final of Indian Wells. That could happen very early doors, and it would be a quarter-final matchup if they're to play. You've got Brooksby there as an unseeded player who's coming back to some form. But all in all, I'm looking at it thinking this is terrible for Zverev, and Jack Draper will like his chances.
Yeah, I think he would play Zverev. It's the same quarter. I think it would be a Zverev-Draper quarter-final, and it could be a Rune fourth round matchup for Jack Draper.
Oh yeah, of course, he's just there.
But still, do you see Zverev progressing far in this tournament either? I mean, based upon that draw, I'd have to say no.
Well, based off what I've just said, I don't think so, no. But there's going to be people who think that Zverev could beat a Draper, and it's not that crazy to suggest he can. Of course, it's possible. But right now, the way Draper's playing, I can't look past him. And I think physically, he's not going to be too much of a problem. It's something we need to watch out for. And I think you'll be able to tell from that opening match he plays. Of course, he gets a bye for the first round. Then when he plays his first match in round 2, you'll be able to see kind of where he's at physically. If he blows the opponent away and looks really good, then probably he's going to be okay. And I reckon he would beat Zverev.
Yeah, we'll go through his potential path to the final at the end, but let's have a look who's in this first half, moving down. So the second part of the top half, we got Taylor Fritz in this one, and in his quarter, there's Denis Shapovalov back as a seed. We got Hurkacz, Shelton, De Minaur, Humbert, Berrettini, And Andrei Rublev, just fresh off a win himself, tournament winner.
Where's one of the top 4 seeds here?
It is Taylor Fritz.
Taylor Fritz. So this is the Taylor Fritz Quarter. So we got who was at the top? Zverev. So it's a Zverev Fritz, and on the other side it's the Alcaraz. Who's the other one?
Alcaraz
Medvedev.
And Djokovic.
Is Djokovic the top 4?
He's number 5 in the world at the moment. Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah, of course. So it's not Medvedev, is it? Because he's dropped all the way down.
number 10.
We've got an Alcaraz Djokovic on the other one again. But
Yeah.
no, I'm looking at this quarter. I think this is the toughest quarter on paper. And there's many reasons why I'm going to say that. So, Taylor Fritz in America, in Miami. I said it at Indian Wells. I think I had him going to the final. Wasn't to be. Come up against an inspired Draper. But he's very, very dangerous. Hurkacz on an American court can be dangerous. Shapo's coming back to form, playing well. You've then got the 2 unseeded players and 2 wild cards to watch. Joao Fonseca, Lerner Tien as an opening round match. I mean, it doesn't get bigger for Game to Love. For those who don't know, I picked Fonseca start of the year outside the top 100 to be the player to watch this year. You had Lerner Tien. More people knew who Fonseca was. They didn't know who Lerner Tien, but everyone does now because he beat, Zverev not too long ago, Lerner Tien?
And Medvedev.
So that just shows the level of him. And Fonseca, we don't even need to speak about. We've done podcast after podcast. He's beaten a lot of good players too. You've got Berrettini, who's looking great. You've got Ugo Humbert, Rublev, Borges. I mean, this is the toughest quarter. And I don't know who's going to come out of it. Potentially, and I have a feeling about this, the winner of Fonseca Tian, I think, could win this quarter.
I think it's still a bit too much too soon for both of them, if I'm perfectly honest. I quite like Berrettini's chances in this quarter. I think he won't be mad if he can get past Andrei Rublev.
I think he will get past Rublev, but I think that my guy Fonseca is going to beat Tian, and he's also going to beat de Minaur.
Interesting.
We've seen de Minaur. He doesn't like the power, and then forehands will push de Minaur off the court. So I can see Fonseca, if he can get through Tian, that's a tough one in itself. I think he's going to do some crazy things, and we could see a real great story here in Miami with Joao Fonseca, and I'm tipping him to win this quarter.
Well, that's big. I mean, he has just come off the back of winning a tournament as well, a challenger albeit, but he still had to beat some good players on the way to that title. I think Berrettini looks quite good, or maybe even a Ben Shelton on these courts in Miami as well. People are going to be saying, why are you ruling out Taylor Fritz? But I don't know. I am looking past him a little bit at the moment. I think that I'm looking to some of these new breed at the moment. I would like to see somebody coming through. People are going to say, you just said Berrettini. Yeah, I'm looking more at the Ben Sheltons, your Jack Drapers.
You just said Berrettini's going to win, though.
I think that he probably will, but I'd be excited to see if Ben Shelton could do it. He'd be
so how come you're not looking past him, but you look past Fritz? Because you're looking at the new breed, but then you ignore the fact that Berrettini is part of the old crop and you have him winning.
I just think that his style of play suits this court. We've seen Hubie Hurkacz win this tournament before, don't forget, back in 2021. Daniel Medvedev, a winner back in 23. I think that Berrettini could have a good run. I don't think he could win it, but I still think he could have a good run.
There we go. The Benjamin contradiction. Love to see it.
Yep, perfect. Let's move on to the next side of the draw. And this one is headed up by... Let me just
the Alcaraz section.
Here we go. Right, boom. Here we go.
So, Nick Kyrgios, Khachanov could be a second round match. Or do you think Kyrgios loses to the qualifier?
Yeah, probably.
Do you think he's just completely done, Nick Kyrgios?
Yeah.
Why is he still trying to persist with playing?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think he really does love tennis as much as he is at everybody's throat.
He loves tennis?
Yeah, I think so.
No.
He wouldn't be crying on court for no reason.
He's always said he doesn't love tennis and he does it for the money. It's the only motivation he has to play.
That's just him just playing the game, playing that character that we know of Nick Kyrgios.
So you think Nick Kyrgios loves tennis and that's why he's still playing? Or
Yeah.
do you think he's still trying to kick about on the tour to earn an extra buck? Because for me, it's the latter. I don't think he's here for the love of it at all. I think he's here to make a bit more extra money. He knows with his serve and his powerful game style, if things go well, he can get through a few rounds and he can make some good money doing so. Not just that, I think the other reason is him putting his name out there, promotion, and just being out in the attention of the public eye is perfect for him. It helps him promote everything else he's doing off the tennis court. Do I think he's there because he loves tennis? No, I don't think anyone thinks that. I'm surprised you do.
Well, I think that everybody has a different opinion on him. That's the thing with Nick Kyrgios. There's probably even people at home mad we're even talking about Nick Kyrgios right now, which I don't think you can be mad about it. He's one of those polarizing figures in the sport. I think he's earned his right. He's been to a slam final. He's won a doubles Grand Slam. He's a good player, and he's got a bit about him. People are right to talk about him. But let's stop talking about him right now and move on to someone else. Just maybe Grigor Dimitrov. Does he stand a good chance here?
No, because isn't Alcaraz there? Go down?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have to play an Alcaraz in the fourth round. I think he's good value to get to that matchup, but then he'll fold when he plays an Alcaraz. I think Alcaraz has got a really nice draw if you compare that to the one we've just seen on the other side with, was it Taylor Fritz's one? Alcaraz has been very fortunate looking up at some of these names. Tommy Paul, I think, is very winnable for Alcaraz. I know they have some good matches, them two, and it's always fun to watch, but I think Alcaraz would be all right. Will he even play Tommy Paul? That's the question, because if you go up to the top
just
section...
call him a fool, then.
Tommy Paul.
Right, yeah.
Go up to the top.
Cerundolo, I think, is a good one.
Keep going. I want to go all the way. Let's see Novak, the beast.
Go all the way to the top. So we got Medvedev all the way at the top here.
Where's Djokovic then?
I don't know. That's what I'm just looking for. There he is. There you go. So he's the bottom of the top half of the bottom section, if you know what I mean.
So in his one, he's got Felix, Mickelson, Musetti, Tsitsipas. There's a few weak chord. There's a few players.
Monfils.
They're very like Djokovic would just love to play these guys. Tsitsipas and Korda, I feel like doesn't matter, even they're the best form of their life, they're probably still going to lose to Djokovic.
Medvedev, though.
Medvedev, Djokovic could be a good match at this current stage because both are lacking a lot of confidence in their game. The point is, will Djokovic even play Daniel Medvedev? He would have to play Felix before or a Musetti. Does he beat both of them? I think he can, you know. I think we're going to see a better Djokovic than the one of India and Wales. I'd like to think he can get out of this little section. And then maybe a Tsitsipas could do something special and beat a Djokovic, beat a Medvedev and a Djokovic. Why not?
What do you think of his potential second round opponent? It could be fellow Serb Hamad Medjedovic, the person that he's funded the career of his whole youth, really. Do you reckon there's going to be any favouritism on? Is he going to allow Djokovic through the next round?
It'll just be a walkover if that's the match. He'll just be like, there we go. Here's the Serbian flag. Here's your victory. And enjoy it.
Well, Djokovic is isn't he after the most wins in Masters events at the moment? He's behind Nadal at the minute with them, who has the most wins, I think.
Yeah.
So I think Hamad would just let him through, have another win, go on, get a record.
No, but joking aside, Medjedovic is a tough opponent. He's actually been winning quite a few matches this year, and a dangerous unseeded player for Djokovic. So that should be a really good match. But how do you see it going? So go all the way to the top again. Do you see us getting the Medvedev Djokovic matchup? I think it's more possible this tournament than any of the other ones, in the sense that I see Djokovic. I had Djokovic going out relatively early in the last one to Cerundolo. he went out the round before I predicted him. This time I see him going through a few more. But ultimately, I don't think we're going to see that matchup in a semi-final against Alcaraz. I think he will go out before, and he's going to lose to someone in this quarter, either a Medvedev or a Tsitsipas.
Yeah, I mean, Medvedev's won this before back in 2023, so he definitely likes it on these courts. Beat Yannick Sinner in that final as well. I think that Medvedev's in good form. He's come off Indian Wells. He didn't do too bad. He got to the semi-finals there. I think he's gradually getting back to form. I think we could see Medvedev.
He's lacking confidence, though, isn't he?
He is lacking a bit, but I still think that he's growing. I think that he could win this section as well.
Did you not see his celebration after he beat Fees? He celebrated like he's just won a Grand Slam.
Yeah, then he lost to Rune. Yeah, Rune's a strange player. Sometimes really great, sometimes just throws matches. I think that I'm not going to say that one in the final was a thrown one, but just didn't have any confidence in himself whatsoever. Just as soon as the chips were down, there was no Alcaraz fight back to try and win the second set. He just accepted defeat. So hopefully Draper doesn't do anything like that. He's a bit more of a fighter. That's why I'm so happy we have him in the UK. Casper Ruud, someone we haven't spoken about, somebody who got to the final in 2022. Could he be a little dark horse in this section?
No.
Okay. That one wrapped up then.
No. The reason I didn't speak about it because I just he's not filling me with any confidence. I think where he is in the draw, people below him, like the Drapers or even your Rublevs, they've got to be looking at that thinking, you know what, Ruud's there, he's a solid player, but he's winnable, he's beatable. We are better than him, and I want to be in that position. And I feel that Ruud has the ability to go far in events, but I don't know, I've just seen some poor performance of him the last few years.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to Alcaraz's route to the final. Bye through the first round. Goffin or Vukic second round. Nakashima, Kobayas, Baena third round. Dimitrov, Khachanov fourth round. Ruud, Paul, Cerundolo, Tabio quarterfinal. Djokovic, Medvedev, Tsitsipas semi-final. And Zverev, Fritz, Rublev or Draper been thrown in there now.
It's a very nice draw. It is a really
Not
good
bad.
draw for Carlos Alcaraz. I will eat my hat if he doesn't make the semi-finals. I think it is just made for him to get there. And Alcaraz should be hungry for victory after what happened to him at Indian Wells. Jack Draper at times demolished him. And Alcaraz will want some revenge, I'm sure. So if he wants that revenge, he needs to ensure that he gets to the final at the very least. That's the only way he'll be able to play a Draper. But irrelevant to that, the best way he can get any kind of revenge for him losing his streak at Indian Wells is to go here and beat everyone and win in Miami.
Indeed. Djokovic's draw, bye through the first round. Medvedev potentially second round. Mickelson third. Felix or Musetti fourth. Quarterfinal of Medvedev or Tsitsipas. Semi-final Alcaraz. And final of maybe Draper, Zverev. I mean, I don't see Djokovic getting to the final, if I'm perfectly honest. I know that everyone's going to keep on saying you can't doubt him, but I've even seen Djokovic fans in the comments just saying, you know what he said, he's not really even bothered about Masters events, he's just turning up just to, I don't know, do something for the cameras, experience Miami like he did at Indian Wells, and then he'll be off focused on the actual slams. So I'm not expecting much from him in any tournament other than to maybe try and pick up a couple of wins, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't see him winning it either. His draw's tougher than Alcaraz's. As much as Felix and Musetti, you can make a few jokes about them. They've shown that they can do well against Djokovic. Musetti specifically, I'm not sure about Felix, but I think they have the making right now in this current climate to beat a Djokovic. So I think his tournament does begin in the fourth round, and that should be a good matchup. And then the quarterfinal, semi-final, final will always be very tough ones for him. So tougher than Alcaraz, and despite that, he's not in as good a form as Alcaraz. So yeah, this is not going to be a Novak Djokovic win at Miami.
I think he's going to be looking towards the clay right now, just thinking, I need to prepare for the next slam. He's not really going to care about Miami right now. And the big route that we all want to really discuss is Jack Draper. How can he win back-to-back Masters events?
Well, I want Fonseca's one.
Well, I don't have that one. We've got Jack Draper's one here. We've got round 1 a bye, and we've got Batista Agut or Mensik in the second round. Poprin or Brooksby, third round. Rune or Mahatch, fourth round. Zverev Vs or TFO quarterfinal. Fritz, Rublev, Dimonor semi-final. Alcaraz, Medvedev, Djokovic or Felix, they've added on there in the final. Quite tough.
It is tough, but he doesn't like it any other way. His Indian Wells one on paper was very tough too. So I think Draper, the way he's playing at the moment, it's like Sinner when he was on, or Djokovic when he was playing great, and Alcaraz. When you're a top player and you're playing well, I think the draws are relevant. Because when you're talking about them real elite top 5 players, if you're a top 5 tennis player and you're playing your best tennis, it doesn't really matter about the draw. Because you've got a good chance of beating anyone anyway. And I think that's what he needs to focus on. He just needs to focus on his matches round by round. It's good that he's got a bye because it's one less match to play. And then the second round, the first match he'll play is an easier one on paper. I mean, Mensik can be quite tough, but still I think it's easier on paper. Get him warmed up, used to the courts, and then from there, just needs to play his game. And if he can, he beats all of these players.
Yeah, I think so as well. I can't wait to see him wipe the court with some more players. I want to see convincing wins. I want to see straight sets wins, and I want to see him just confident on a tennis court again. We'll finish up with this one. Some potential round 2 matchups. We've spoken about some of the first round ones like TN versus Fonseca. Well, these are some of the potential round 2 matches that we could be getting. Fees versus Griekspoor. TFO versus Fokina, Mahatch versus Arnaldi or Wu, Mensik versus Draper. Well, he's mentioned here as well, obviously, Fonseca TN for round 1, and they face Umber in round 2. Berrettini Nishikori round 2 could be quite an entertaining one. We've spoken about Djokovic, Medvedev. Tsitsipas Bellucci. Bellucci's sort of fallen off completely since that big win, though. It wasn't against Medvedev.
But that has the ability to be a banana skin for Tsitsipas.
Yeah. Bublik versus Paul and Kyrgios Khachanov.
I think Bublik will beat Paul as well.
Nah, not for me.
Just got to the final of a challenger.
Challenger, yeah. I know. Then lost to Fonseca in the final. But he said he's like the player that everybody loves to hate or hates to love or one of those things. But Bublik, never short of a few words.
Yeah, all in all, nothing really matters because Joao Fonseca most likely will win Miami.
Going out first round.
Put all your money on it. I am feeling some Fonseca magic. And I don't say this every episode before anyone starts. I didn't think he was going to do something in Indian Wells, but I'm expecting some Fonseca magic in this tournament. So stay tuned. Lerner TN's going to have to learn how to play tennis because he's going to be in trouble. And I'm going to be going full Brasileira on this one.
Lerner didn't have a good time in Indian Wells at that first American Masters. I'm hoping he's learned his lesson and now he's going to take out Fonseca in that first round.
But let us know what you guys think in the comments section. It's 1 o'clock in the UK, so we're going to get to bed. But if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon.